Ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and droids across our beloved empire, let me just firstly start by saying, dang, it's great to be in the empire today, and it's great seeing each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for stopping by to this video today, and more importantly, thank you so much for stopping by to our stream we did just a few moments ago, testing out Fennec Shun. We'll do a full highlight reel and all that initial review tomorrow. In case you missed the stream, it's in the top right hand corner if you want to watch the stream. In the meantime, as well as a little bit of Sandbox Grand Arena challenges that we set for ourselves today. But the reason why I've gathered us here today is because it looks like the senior producer for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes has left. And some bad communication on CG's part, letting us know that this has happened. And there's a couple ways to look at it. You might be worried about the future of the game, or you might not worry. And I'm going to explain both perspectives here in a moment. Let me give you the little history lesson real quick. Back in 2019, Mark Dickinson, or I accidentally called him something else by accident because we haven't heard from the guy, has left Capital Games now. But 2 years ago, in August 2019, he was brought into as the senior producer for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes to replace Carrie. And I gotta say this, before we get to anything else in this video, this guy, unless he had a secret like profile page on the forums and a secret account, had zero interaction with the community. This was a post made by Crumb, not even the producer himself. At least Carrie, she would have her own account, post stuff on the forums, reply to people on Reddit and the forums. We have zero interaction with Mark Dickinson. This is the only sort of interaction we had was Crumb doing some sort of, emailed interview with him, answering a few random questions about Galaxy of Heroes, what he did in the past and whatnot. And that is it. We have not heard anything about this guy. And this guy is kind of big in the mobile gaming industry, as I'll bring up in a moment. But as of today, right off after the stream that we did today, I hopped on the tweeters. And there you go, Mark Dickinson. And if you go to his Twitter page, he's a very silent guy. His attitude he had of Galaxy Heroes is almost the attitude he has of social media in life. And maybe it's actually not a bad idea. Very rarely does he ever post, mostly food, that he posts on his Twitter. Very rarely. I mean, he probably had 10 tweets in the span of 2 years. And the most recent one says, I'm a little over halfway through my first week at Bend Studio and PlayStation. Very excited to be here. Moving to Bend in 3 weeks. And this is further confirmed when you hop on over to his LinkedIn page. It no longer says he's at Capital Games. He is now the senior producer at Bend Studio, Sony Interactive Entertainment. As you see down here, he was at Electronic Arts, EA Mobile, Capital Games Sacramento, Star Wars Galaxy Heroes from February 2018 to July 2021. And we didn't hear anything about this, the alleged face of the company disappearing, and we hear nothing about it. Before we move any further, I think this is, at the minimum, an important question for CG to answer, whether in a forum post or even heck, if they do another developer interview on a podcast or a video somewhere, this needs to be asked. Who is the new senior producer? I don't know if he got fired or he left on his own terms. Maybe he got paid more money somewhere. We're not going to speculate into why he is no longer at Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes as a senior producer. But nonetheless, I think this is an important question to ask. A game that's making, I think it's over 1.2 or $3 billion right now. And the senior producer just disappeared. Is it because maybe the game's a sinking ship, or they maybe just had better opportunities somewhere else lingering out there? And the reason why this guy is kind of important, it's unsure of how much of a role he had in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, except that he was very hands-off in terms of communicating with the public. However, if you go back in time, you may have recognized this name as someone who was in charge of Madden back in the day. And what turned into Madden? Madden turned into a massive cash grab, over monetized game. Now we could speculate, of course, but Mark Dickinson, what was his legacy of Galaxy Heroes? Well, he is responsible at the end of the day when they're reporting money. I'm sure he gets credit for the revenue. I have a feeling the over monetization we've been seeing lately maybe had some sort of degree of credit going to Mark Dickinson here. So few questions I have in mind. 1, why did he leave? 2, who is the new senior producer? And 3, should we be worried? Now, Reddit also picked up on this a moment ago, and there's a lot of different feelings and responses in regards to this right now. For me personally, I look at it one of 2 ways. 1, it could be a bit worrying that the senior producer just up and left and we heard nothing about it. I think at the minimum, it's kind of bad we didn't hear anything about it. We kind of found this out perhaps by accident. Maybe they didn't want us knowing that the senior producer has left. On the flip side of it, the other way to look at it, if he did indeed leave Star Wars Galaxy Heroes back in July 2021, which is at this point 3 months ago, give or take, maybe we shouldn't worry as much. The game has been carrying on, even allegedly, with him being gone in the game. For my minimum experience I've had with CG before all the garbage happened between me and them or whatever, it seemed like for the most part they had a lot of leeway with what they can do. So maybe they're operating just fine without a senior producer. And maybe Mark Dickinson was more of a PR move, because after Care left, which was a big deal back in the day, there was a lot of worries and concerns about the game. So maybe they just put a name onto a skeleton so people would be like, oh, there's a senior producer, we're all right. Unsure if someone maybe stepped up to the plate to the senior producer title right now. So either one, you might be worried that this might be a bad sign that important key players are leaving Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. But the other thing I want to put out there, the brainchild of Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, John Solera, he left the game a long time ago, and the game is still here to this day. So if the brainchild, the person who created Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, is long gone, and this guy's been gone for 3 months, I suspect the game will be fine in terms of it's going to be around for a while. I don't think it's going to shut down because the senior producer walked away. But that's something for you guys to decide on how you feel about that. I just find it surprising that the only way we found out about this was on Twitter. I don't know. All I do hope is that the next person who will potentially take the senior producer spot is a bit more interactive with the community. Because this guy had zero. I mean, we forgot about his name because he hasn't shown his face for 2 years. And Star Wars Galaxy just had these random interviews on the EA websites, and that's pretty much it. Can't really say much about the guy's character or who he was, but all I know is that in terms of the community, pretty much next to zero. And that's something I like to see in senior producers and community managers and whatnot, is someone that's frequently engaged with the audience. It makes it seem like they care, and it seemed like this guy didn't care. Maybe he just wanted to just make the game money at the end of the day, and that's it. Taking out the love and emotion, which is something I felt like has happened with this game. One more thing before we walk out of this video. I've been getting a lot of questions on the content update page for the Fennec Shan update. There's a little GIF. I'm surprised we didn't see this inside of the marquee event here, but when they introduced Fennec Shan and taking out a couple of stormtroopers, we see a little bit of Slave 1 flying on by. People were asking me, hey, does that mean we're getting a new Slave 1? I don't think we're going to get a new Slave 1. One, because the Slave 1 is basically the same exact Slave 1. And furthermore, if we are going to get a new Slave 1, it'd probably either be for Jango Fett, or two, if it's going to be a Mandalorian Slave 1, we kind of need a new Boba Fett in the meantime. My take is that this is just a snippet of a bigger scene. It's showing that there's another thing coming down the road, and with Boba Fett being in there piloting that ship, I think if anything, that's an indication that we're going to be getting a brand new Boba Fett sometime down the road. Dad bod Boba Fett. Some people are calling him Boba Fett. Man, if people think he's fat, man, and some people I know are going to be apparently in the size of elephants. But nonetheless, I think this just means there's a new Boba Fett sometime around the corner. So stay tuned. I like Fennec Shan. She's a pretty decent character. We'll do a more in-depth review tomorrow. But I think this is the most important thing to bring to your guys' attention. How are you feeling about the senior producer leaving? Do you think it's a bad sign for the game? Or is it just something that, at this point, it just seems like it's a skeleton crew keeping the game up and running? They're making their money. They're pushing out new characters and making money off Relic 9. Ball's getting passed over to you guys. It's your turn to answer the tough questions. Let me know your concerns. And at the end of the day, importantly, especially for our content creators that have that access to capital games, I think you guys need to ask some of these questions. Even if you think you're going to get a non-answer, I think this is a very important question to ask at the minimum. Maybe they'll just say, you know what, we don't need a senior producer. We're fine the way we are. And you know what, at least they'll answer. But at the end of the day, I think this is an important question for a game that's making over $1 billion. I think we need some answers. So like, comment down below, and subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And most importantly, always remember, it's great to be in the Empire today.